I feel like I should like take a video of scrolling the text thread and send it to you. I think it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, that would be entertaining. Just like set it to Titanic or something like that.
Yeah. Welcome to My God a Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I review Georgia's 63-3 win over Florida State in the Orange Bowl. We talk about our experiences on Saturday and what stood out to us during the game. As always, remember to check out the newly redesigned MyGottaPodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at My Gotta Podcast. Finally, we'd love for you to check out our presenting sponsor, Oxia Time, at oxiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. Once again, we'll say it, John, just as we predicted.
Just as we predicted. It's I mean, I don't even remember at this point. We're recording so later. This is such a later recording time for us. I think that we both predicted a blowout. You predicted that they would score less than I did, and your score was closer to accurate than mine was.
Yeah,
I thought that they would put up a little bit more of a fight, I guess.
yeah. I thought I guess I thought their defense would be able to hold us I mean to fewer than 63. But yeah, I mean, hey, I'm not complaining. That was amazing. Hey, we predicted us to cover and we did. So
We did, yeah.
we'll go with that.
It's just such a tough game to kind of analyze, but I'm kind of on the when you're looking at the performance overall. You and I were just looking at this in the conversation in progress. We were looking at that, and we were basically 87% win percentile when the second quarter began. So
Yeah.
it leaves a much wider margin for error with our guys. But I think that the biggest takeaway on this game is that we saw Cash Jones in the second quarter.
I know. Yeah, when he came in, I was like, what is going on?
Yes.
Wasn't he the first back off the bench?
I
I,
mean, obviously you had Kendall Milton and Dejon Edwards, but
I'm
yes,
pretty sure. I'm
after
pretty
that,
sure. No, I'm pretty sure Cash Jones came into the game before Dejon did. Kendall started, and we ran two running plays. And then, as I texted, we got cute on. I think it was like the third play of the game. We had that like bunch formation out to the left, and threw it to Arian Smith, and he dropped it, and it didn't work. I'm pretty sure Cash Jones was in for that play. I think I could be wrong. I haven't.
yeah, I feel like this has got to be. Did I just watch like a totally different game? Like, did Dejon Edwards really not have any carries before Cash Jones? Like, was he being punished?
Cash Jones didn't get a carry. He came in and it was a pass play. He came into
Oh, I
the
got you.
he
I
came
got
into the
you.
game and we did this like weird bunch. He went in motion and then we did that. We tried to do like a screen to Aaron Smith and it didn't work.
That
But it
was in the first quarter.
was the third play of the game. Or
Third
the
play.
Georgia's third play of the game. Because
Georgia's
what?
third play of the game.
Because Florida State hit the ball first, punted, and then I just remember like Kendall Milton was like running like, you know, nobody's business. And then we we got cute. I'll say we got cute.
Yeah,
I,
Kendall Milton for 8 yards, Kendall Milton for 14, and then pass incomplete to Arian Smith.
yeah. And I'm pretty sure Cash Jones was on that play. Anyways,
Okay.
whatever. But like after that, because I mean, we forget that we turned the ball over on downs the first time we had the ball. Um we went for it on fourth down and didn't get it. They stopped us.
Right.
And I will say, that place got loud actually.
Yeah, you were
Like
there. Give us a rundown. Give us a rundown of the atmosphere and all that. We're
I don't know
jumping
where to
ahead. We're jumping ahead.
I don't know where to start. So Lily, I went with Lily. So Lily's first bowl game. Our flight was delayed a little bit, not terribly. We flew into Fort Lauderdale. And we had no rental car. We rented a car, but they were out somehow. Took an Uber. We stayed at the Stadium Hotel though, which is like right by. It's the closest hotel that's not a casino to Hard Rock Stadium. So we were right there, and like they had a shuttle to the game. So ended up like plans kind of went awry that first night. So just kind of like ate at the hotel restaurant. Um, but the day of the game was fun. The hotel had a putt putt course. Did I tell you this? We played putt putt in the
Yeah,
morning.
that was one of the appeals of the hotel, I
That was one of the
thought.
appeals. Yeah, that was like why Lily wanted to stay there. So we did that, just kind of hung around, and then we went over, we took the shuttle and we did the Fan Fest, which the Fan Fest was cool. Like we had a good time over there. You could actually get your picture taken like with the Orange Bowl trophy with all the oranges in it. Um,
Okay.
but
Did
the
you get your
line
picture?
we didn't like the
Uh,
line, there was like a crazy line to do that. So we didn't do that. We just kind of walked around. When we got there, Champ Bailey was on the stage. So they had like a main stage. And they kept like bringing personalities up. So I think Derek Brooks had been there earlier in the day. We missed that. So they had like a Florida State flavor. They had Champ there. Um, and then the Redcoats played. So we saw that. And then they had Dan Marino there, I guess, because Miami. Um, but I 100% booed Dan Marino because he brought up the Sugar Bowl. I wasn't the only one. Many of us booed. Um, and then
I would have booed with you.
Yeah. So it was fun. And then we stayed for the pre-game entertainment outside of FanFest. Nico Moon. I don't know if you're familiar with this guy. Have you ever heard of this guy? I
I'm not familiar with Nico Moon.
okay. Well, my guy was
Maybe maybe my kids are.
my guy was performing with like a yellow solo cup in his hand. It was interesting. Um, but yeah, so made our way in the stadium. I'll say I really liked the stadium. I know I sent you pictures. Like I think it's a nice stadium. It's a good stadium, great viewing angles, at least from where we were. We were like fourth row in the upper deck. Excuse me. Fourth row upper deck, like 30-yard line. Awesome seats. So we had a great vantage point.
Yeah, the pictures that you sent were pretty amazing. I think that your description of it as a European soccer field or European soccer stadium is an accurate assessment. Like the seats look like they were pretty close to the field.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they were. And even in the upper deck, like it's not that high. So it was cool. I really liked it. I liked it. It was pretty easy in, out. Um, it was pretty easy to navigate throughout the stadium and everything. They had really good food, honestly. I guess like NFL Stadium.
Mhm.
So we like that. All of that was excellent.
Were the
Um,
prices like Mercedes-Benz?
okay, so also funny thing, what Capital One Orange Bowl, there were signs if you used your Capital One credit card, you got 10% off of off everything at concessions. So
Is this a sponsor read?
not a sponsor, but like, and I usually don't use my Capital One card, but I have one. And so yeah. So we ended up getting a free like souvenir cup upgrade with the Capital One card, and then discounts on our stuff. So that was cool.
What's in your wallet, Jim?
But yeah.
I like it.
Uh,
I like it. That's cool. That is pretty fun. It's kind of like the old school Fulton County Stadium or Ted Turner Field, the old Turner Field, where if you were driving a Lexus, you got like the free parking. Like you just roll up into the Lexus lot with the Lexus.
right.
And
Right.
Mercedes, I don't know if it's still this way. Mercedes Benz, like you just roll into the Mercedes Benz lot if you're driving a Mercedes.
Really? I
It
didn't
used
even
to
know
be
that.
that way. It used to be that way. I don't know. I don't
Got
think
it.
it's like that anymore.
Got
I
it.
remember going down to did we go to a Atlanta United game? I can't remember. I think it might have been a Georgia game that was happening at the Benz, and they had a Mercedes lot. And I remember driving down there with Lindsay's brother's wife. Her dad had a convertible Mercedes Benz, and we would drive down there, park in that lot. Anyway, we're off the rails already.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, there's not much to talk about with this game. Um, so all that to say, Lily and I had a really good time. She sported her Jake Fromm jersey. So she got to wear her new jersey that she got for Christmas. It was a good time. It was a good time.
That's awesome.
We had a lot of
And she
fun.
was surprised by it too, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. She had no idea.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I think she thought that I'd forgot. So that was good. That was good. Um,
That's awesome. It's a good quarterback, Lily.
That's right. That's right. And we saw somebody, we saw like another like teenage girl in a Jake Fromm jersey. And I was like, oh, look, Lily,
Ooh,
fellow Jake Fromm fan.
this should be like this should be like when Hunter wore the Azalea shirt to the Masters and he took a picture with everybody
I
at the
know, I know.
game.
We totally should have got a picture. Totally should have done that. But yeah, man, it was like I will say even before that, like we just had like got lots of bull watching in. Like we sat and watched Kentucky and Clemson at the Charlotte airport, and then we watched Penn State Ole Miss Friday night at the hotel. So got in lots of good football watching while we were down there. It was fun. But yeah, so
Nice.
what I was saying was like the Florida State fans were definitely like they were into it. Um, there was lots of like joking conversations with them, like I got like apologize, but like sorry, it's our fault that we're here and not in New Orleans. And they're like, we were totally playing you in New Orleans, and I like nicely said yes, totally. Which I'm not sure, who knows? I don't know with the community, but possible. But Florida State fans were, they were nice. We had a lot of good conversations with everybody. It was fun. So
That's good. I only encountered one Florida State fan couple um, on my travels. So I didn't have any interactions with anybody. There was just a nod. There was a silent nod, and that was not much else.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so yeah, there was, that the hotel we were staying at. Obviously most people there were there for the game, and I would say it was about 50-50 Georgia, Florida State. And we took a shuttle there and back, both on the way there and back. It was split in the van, with, Georgia and Florida State. Everyone was, everyone was friendly. I think I told you about the shuttle text thread.
Mhm.
Um, so
Yeah, I was a little confused about that setup. Like, so you had like a text thread with people that you were at the
I
hotel with? I'm confused.
I think they messed up. So like we gave the shuttle company our phone numbers, right? When we reserved the shuttle.
Hmm.
And like during the first quarter, I got a group text like from a number that I didn't have. And it was like with like 20 other people on it. And it was like, this is your chauffeur company or something like that. We'll be in touch again soon. I guess it was just like around like making sure people knew when the last shuttle was, because like the for to get home, they basically started the ride homes at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and then they were supposed to just keep going back and forth until an hour after the game. But they sent this like mass text to everyone who took the shuttle. And so people start replying, right? So like the first response was just like, go Knowles. And so then somebody was like, go Dogs. And so like, it's all people that no one knows it, like no one knew anyone. So like, that was pretty amazing. So like at first it was all like friendly banter. And then like when the game started to turn, like the Florida State people started to be like, all dejected, and they're like, oh man, like I can't believe this. I can't believe I came all the way here for this, blah, blah. And then like, for the most part, Georgia fans weren't saying anything. And then all of a sudden, like the trash talk started.
The bourbons were deep at that point.
Yeah, yeah. So it got pretty good. I feel like I should like take a video of scrolling the text thread and send it to you. I think it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah. That would be entertaining. Just like set it to Titanic or something like that.
Yeah. Oh
Everything's
man.
better. Everything's better with Titanic.
Oh man, I should totally do that. That would be epic. So yeah, so that happened. That was the thing that happened.
Awesome.
I tried not to respond, and I finally did. So,
You just
but
couldn't
at any
take it
rate,
anymore.
yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. My
But
my viewing was a little bit different than yours. So at that point we were in Asheville for the game. So we made it up to Asheville. And then I polled Twitter on places to watch the game
mm,
while I was in Asheville. And some locals actually responded that were not in town, but said that the Alumni Association was meeting at this bar called the Village Pub, which is incidentally probably a 10-minute walk from the gates of the Biltmore, if you've ever been to the Biltmore. So pretty cool spot. They had everything set up, and then they had some decorations and things, and they had some giveaways, some cups and buttons and stickers and stuff. which my girls were very appreciative of. They had the pom poms and stuff too. So it was a good atmosphere to watch the game. You know, I didn't really know anybody there, but we met some of the alumni there. One of them actually was like a personal family friend of Javon Bullard.
Oh yeah.
She was trying to give us some inside baseball on Javon, which ended up not being what we were hoping
What
for.
were got hopeful. Got
We
hopeful.
got hopeful. I got hopeful. Basically, his mom was got a master's degree or something, and his mom was very heavy on the academics. He graduates in May, and I guess the thinking was is that she wanted him to get a free master's education. So, but
Right.
obviously things didn't turn out that way.
That's okay. Go be
That's
great.
okay.
Go be
Go
great,
be
Javon.
great, Javon. We will. I did tell her, I was like, please let his mom know that we are all going to miss him, like on and off the field, because he's
Right.
such a pleasure to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, I guess what I had started to say was like the Florida State fans were like they were into it early, like they were loud. Chief Osceola was there. I think, and that was on TV, right? Like they showed him throw
Yes.
the. Although what I'm telling you, man, like it did not have the reaction like in the stadium like you would think of because on the jumbotrons, like they played a Florida State video, then they ran out, and before he threw the spear into the ground, they'd already cut to Baba O'Reilly in like the Georgia
Mhm.
opening. So like the Georgia fans were all cheering, and then it's like, oh wait, Chief Osceola was going to throw his thing. So that was interesting.
Well, because it's
Um,
a long drawn out process for him
yeah,
to
it
like
is.
he like gallops around, then he loops back.
Yeah, it's like we had moved on. We were
Yeah.
we were out here in the fields already. Um,
We were we were out here in the fields.
but yeah, man, once the Georgia offense got rolling, like there was just no stopping it. It was insane. There was a play. I don't remember when it was, like, or maybe it was that first drive when Beck got sacked and he fumbled, but we recovered it.
Mhm.
And that definitely like woke up the Florida State fans because like the whole crowd was kind of quiet. And then when that sack happened, like they woke up, they erupted. Um, and then they kind of like it was super loud, like when we had the ball from that point on, for at least through the rest of the first quarter. It never really got loud on the Georgia side, I'll say, at least not from where I was sitting. Other than us celebrating all the good stuff, like that obviously got loud, but it was like it was very much you were there to see an exhibition kind of thing, I would say. Um, but
I
obviously
wouldn't
there's
say
plenty to cheer about.
I don't know. I don't know how much I take away from the exhibition situation. So I mean, at least you had a little bit of a game for about 10 minutes, right? You had a
Yeah,
little bit
no.
of like game atmosphere.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I was actually kind of getting frustrated, like trying to like yell and stuff when Florida State had the ball. And like
Yeah.
we just as a fan base weren't getting very loud. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like we were treating it like we as fans were treating it like an
Oh, I
exhibition.
see.
Like we're not going to get into this. Like, this bores me kind of thing almost.
These
Um,
these peasants.
I'm sure there were pockets that were loud. It just wasn't loud where I was.
Right, right, right.
Whereas I could hear like with Florida, I would also say there were more Florida State fans there. I would say, I think, at least from my vantage point, it felt like it. I don't know.
I
Maybe that was
mean,
just from the noise. By the end, there obviously weren't, but in the first quarter.
I kind of expected that, honestly. Like that's why I was asking you when I was texting you before the game, like what the vibe was on the ground, because I
Yeah.
was anticipating, just knowing that state and having family that lives down there and having been down there so much throughout my youth, like particularly in time period when Florida State was good.
Hmm.
Florida State is a pretty significant and substantial fan base.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I figured since it was in Florida, that it would be an easier travel situation for those guys to come down for the day, basically, as opposed to Georgia fans having to come down for a weekend.
Well, they're used to traveling in the traveling circus. Sorry.
They did have the traveling circus factor. They're used to it.
Uh,
Oh man, I forgot about that.
at any rate, at any rate. So yeah, dude, I know it got to the point where, when we started scoring, it was like just hand the ball off and we're gonna get how many yards we want. It kind of felt like.
Hmm.
Um, it was as someone who likes to run the ball, I thought it was beautiful. I love the way. So what we had what four rushing touchdowns before we had a passing one. So although the third rushing touchdown was a or the fourth one was kind of a pass, we can get to that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's probably a good segue. I see you sipping, and you're still recovering from your sickness
I'm
prior
trying to
to,
knock
I think it sounds
I'm trying
like.
to knock my sickness out. So I went with the
Ah,
my Old Forester 1920 Prohibition style. Try to
there we
knock the cold
go.
out.
Trying to knock it out. I've got I actually went and picked up I was actually texting with John about this earlier this week. I went to a liquor store that I really don't like going into, but they do have really good store picks, and
Mm,
I just wanted to check it out. And they have a 1792 single barrel store pick, which is a really good value, and was actually on the list of best bourbons for 2023. The, John and I both really enjoy the Breaking Bourbon as a review source.
mm,
They have they're like a 4 or 5 barrel ranking system on their bourbons, and then at the end of the year, they did a release of, their top bourbons for the year, and a lot of them were like the ones that you would expect that are,
mm.
high dollar bourbons. But this one was sitting up there at pretty mid tier on their list of best bourbons, a 1792 single barrel. Um, and it was only $40 at this liquor store. Well, let's take 45. And so I picked that up most recently. And then while I was at the watch party, I noticed on the way out that there was a distillery across the street.
Mm.
And I picked up this little teeny tiny bottle. So a little 200 milliliter. I don't know if you can see it. It's a little 200 milliliter bottle that they didn't sell. They didn't sell the big bottles on for some reason, but it is a Nacino barrel finished, and it's a rye whiskey, and this thing has like it smells incredible. Like I can't really
Mm.
describe it, but Nacino is apparently like an Italian liqueur for like an Italian walnut liqueur. And, just like with the port barrel finishes and stuff like that, they take the whiskey and they finish it in the Nacino barrels. And this is really fantastic. And got to thinking when I was sipping it up in Asheville that I would actually like to taste this mixed with some other stuff because
Mm.
it would give that nice flavor profile. And so I've been kind of experimenting with mixing it. And so tonight I did mix it and it tastes fantastic.
Nice.
It's kind of like
Nice.
adding a finished flavor to a regular bourbon that you like. So like I've sampled it. I actually had it with the Weller Special Reserve. So think about like a Weller Special Reserve that's finished in a nice
Mm.
flavor profile.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what I'm sipping on tonight. A little bit of my travels is with me.
Nice. Yeah, I am just still trying to kick the remnants of this cold. I feel fine. I felt fine when we went. I just like this cough like came back. I don't know. It's kind of annoying, but whatever.
Sounds like you
Um,
have what the entire elementary schools have had for months.
yeah. Yeah. Um, I guess I don't know. Like the defense just dominated the whole game, obviously. Um, but I mean the play of the game has to be the McConkey touchdown, right?
Right, right. Yeah,
Um,
and it probably underscores a little bit of it probably underscores like two different sides of the coin on how you view this game. Like on the one
mm,
hand, like you look at it as like Georgia taking advantage of the scrubs, but on the other hand, you just look at it as a pure Georgia just exercising its pure talent, right?
yeah.
I don't know what it would have looked like had their entire boat had been on that play, like because it looked like it was supposed to be a pass play. Like
It
we were gonna get what we were
I
looking for, Jim.
I
We were
know.
gonna get
I
McConkey throwing for a touchdown.
I know. I know. It was like that was the time. That was it. They finally gonna let him, flex his high school quarterback skills. Ah. But he just decided, nah, I think I'll just run it in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, then he juked a guy out of his shoes and then
Oh my gosh, dude.
hit the corner and just took off.
He hit like a DeAndre Swift dead leg behind the line of
Yeah.
scrimmage to cut upfield. That was
Mhm.
it was ridiculous. So, but
Yeah, so
I think it also underscored like that our guys wanted to play. Like
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there were two ways to deal with this, and Georgia, our guys said, you know what? You only get to play so many of these. I want one more time with my teammates, and I'm going to go out there and we're going to finish this.
Hmm.
And Florida State didn't. I mean, I'm not saying I blame them, but like, I just think that's a difference in the culture of the programs, honestly.
You know me and my love for theories that are a conspiracy. Um, it's one of those things that I feel like that should have been obvious. Like if you're, I don't know. I get that our program is built differently, and I want to believe that, and I do believe that. But
Mhm.
there's also a part of me that wonders because a lot of this NIL stuff is not public, right? It's not like you
Yeah,
can go and peruse someone's contract on what they're, expected to do or required to do. But part of me
right.
feels like that Georgia is already like ahead of the curve,
Mhm.
because they are ahead of the curve in so many other facets of how the program operates and with the level of detail that Kirby goes into this stuff. I feel like that they were motivated to do so because they were incentivized to do so.
Like maybe there was like a bowl, maybe they got a
Yeah, like
postseason bonus or something.
like we've got postseason clauses in our contracts already,
Right.
kind of thing. Like,
Could be.
and I feel like that's what you're going to see. And I did think that was it. I'm going to have to agree with him, I guess. I think it was McAfee, um, that was talking about. Did I say McAfee? Whatever.
McAfee,
McAfee.
Pat
Yeah,
McAfee.
Pat. Yeah, the carnival barker. Um,
Did you go to Florida State? No,
yeah, did he go to, yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I think that he was talking about that they've got to like figure out a way to incentivize these kids. Like maybe it's a payment for completing or holding. You don't get the full allotment of your NIL dollars unless you like play the entirety of the season, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's definitely how they're going to get people to stick around and play in these bowl games for sure. And maybe Georgia just was ahead of the curve on that. And maybe Florida State wasn't. Like they didn't have enough skin in the game to warrant playing.
Right.
Um, so I don't know. That's just my conspiracy theory there. But I do think that there is an element of you know, our senior class had a chance to do something that, nobody's done in this,
Yep.
set the record. And then I feel like that once the points started rolling, like there's a number of historic things that we can do. We can wreck someone's season. You can be the first program in history to go 40 plus points in back-to-back bowl games,
Yeah.
levy the largest bowl victory margin in history. Like all these things, there were still things to play for, right? And maybe,
Breaking our own record to do that, by the way.
yeah, breaking our own record. So our guys were definitely up for it. There's probably also a component that they knew that they would probably not be playing as long as they would in a tighter game or whatever. But
Mm.
basically we played the first half, and then the second half was by and large. I mean, Gunnar Stockton basically kind of took over in the second half, and our backups beat them 30-0.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we came out. I think we still pretty much had the ones in, but Gunner instead of Carson to start the second half.
Hmm.
Um, but I
Third
mean,
string
it was
quarterback versus third string quarterback.
that's true. That's true. Late in the first half, when it was before the last touchdown, um, what was the last touchdown? Was that Dominic Lovett? I think right before halftime. Um,
Oh, you're talking about
uh,
the first half?
yeah, yeah. So God, we scored so many touchdowns. Yeah, so Lovett right before Lovett's touchdown, the Georgia fans had already started. Like I know they showed on TV, like the players did the tomahawk chop to celebrate that touchdown. Like it had been going on for a while in the stadium. I don't think you could hear it on TV.
No.
So the student section started it like that drive. So basically that entire drive, the student section was doing the tomahawk chop. And then like for the rest of the game, anytime the Florida State band played their fight song, it was the Georgia fans doing the chop, which felt natural as a Braves fan.
Felt natural.
Um,
Yeah, exactly. Like,
so, but that was crazy. So at that point, that was when we definitely took it over. But I know I looked at Lily before halftime, and I was like, so okay, it was 42-3 at half. And like I looked at Lily before we were about to kick off that last time at the end of the first half. I was like, it's not even halftime yet. Look at the score. And she was like, I didn't even think about that. Like there's like a lot of game left.
yeah.
Oh man.
I know from where we sit, when the fourth quarter came around and we had the ball and we scored to make it 63, we were like 70? Like
Mhm.
let's hit 70, Kirby. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you definitely feel like we could have if we wanted to.
We missed the Anthony Evans touchdown. We were on a quest. We had moved seats. We were getting down into the lower bowl. So we finished the game in the lower bowl, and that touchdown happened while we were on an escalator to get back down. Um,
Ah,
but we were got to get down there for the trophy celebration. Be right there. So that was cool. Which
you got
this
your
is
orange.
this is I'd be lying if I said this was from that. I do have an orange.
I
I do have
picked
an
this up at
orange.
Harris Teeter.
I have an orange. It is from Miami. I grabbed one off the hotel table.
It's a
We
Miami
tried.
orange.
We tried. We were close to getting we no oranges and no Capital One scarves. We were trying to get an Orange Bowl scarf for Lily. Those
Mm.
also got passed out to the students.
I
Couldn't
feel like
couldn't pull
that's
that
something
off.
you could probably buy online, right?
Someone I might well, we
You
saw
know
some
what?
we saw kids with like three around their neck. And so Lily was like walking around being like, and she like had a fake British accent and she was like, I'm just a poor child, cold, needing a scarf. And like she wouldn't like directly go and ask anyone. She was just doing that, and like no one like caught on to what she was doing. It was pretty funny.
You
So I
can
was just
take
sitting there
the
laughing.
you can take the kid out of the theater, but you can't take the theater out of the kid, huh?
Exactly, exactly. So I'm sure some of the students that I saw walking around with like three scarves on, those are on eBay, I would assume.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
If I didn't even think about it. Carter's old soccer coach, his wife is like works for Capital One marketing. I bet she was probably at the game.
nice. Yeah, we hadn't even noticed the scarves. Kim texted me and was like, she saw them on TV, and she's like, I see these Orange Bowl scarves. Lily needs one. So there wasn't much going on in the game the second half, so we went on a quest for a scarf.
You want a quest? Yeah. As you should.
So yeah, it was
I did
fun.
see you had some pretty epic looking ice cream.
Yeah, that we got that right after Lad's touchdown. That was actually step one of the quest. We thought we had seen where some scarves were. Turned out they were shakers, and it was when we were walking
Mm.
back. That fumble happened. We weren't in our seats for any of that. But yeah, so then Lily was like, "We got to get ice cream," because she had seen it earlier. So yeah, we
Nice.
got like soft serve and a cone.
Yeah, I saw
It
that.
was epic. It was really good. Yeah, I had a Cuban sandwich for dinner in the stadium. Yeah, it was pretty
I mean,
good.
you're in Miami. You gotta have a
Exactly.
Cuban
I
Cuban
wanted a Cuban
sandwich.
sandwich while we were down there, and hadn't planned on getting one at the game, but I'll say it was fantastic. It was a good one.
I have a feeling the purists here are rolling their eyes and scoffing at you for getting a Cuban sandwich at the
I don't know. Hey, I
Orange
didn't have a
Bowl.
rental car. I couldn't go around anywhere. Oh, I guess I could have Ubered somewhere, but
Oh yeah, you didn't tell that story.
uh, yeah. I don't know. I thought that if you had a reservation for a rental car, that meant you could actually have one.
Yeah. I feel like that was like a commercial. That was a commercial. Like that's the whole point of the reservation.
Yeah, like I don't know. It was crazy. It was crazy. We were told there was a 4 to 5 hour wait to get a car.
That's
So
insane.
so we just Ubered for the weekend, which ended up saving money. I just wanted to have a car to be able to go do stuff.
Yeah. To get
But yeah,
around.
we were kind of in and out, so it wasn't a big deal. It
All
wasn't big.
right.
Lily just wanted to be at the hotel anyways and play putt-putt, so
Play
it worked out.
putt-putt. Yeah. Did she
She
win?
she beat me. Oh yeah, she totally beat me. It was a 9-hole course, and we played nine twice, and she beat me both times.
Nice.
Yeah,
Smoked you.
yeah, she smoked me. Which I was like, you would think that since I like actually play golf, I would be good at this. And
You
no.
should, yeah, no, that's not how it works. Did you like bring your putter down there? That'd
No,
be
no,
amazing.
that would be amazing. That's why I lost. I didn't have my equipment. I can't use this inferior putt putt equipment.
You'd be like the guy in the Wizard with his glove, like bringing the case out and everything.
Exactly. Exactly. I will say the funny thing that kept happening, like late in the game when we had left the game, and this happened again at the airport, like when we were leaving, like we were, we packed all Georgia stuff, right? And so like when you're out and about, someone would be like, "Oh, did you go to the game?" And like, the way Lily would respond was pretty amazing. Like someone asked us at the airport, and we're like, "Yeah, we went to the game." Like, I bet that was fun as a Georgia fan. And she said something like, "Yeah, like you never thought you'd beat anyone any worse than TCU." It's like, wow, that's amazing, Lily.
That is pretty amazing. Pretty
Uh,
savage.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Well, I'm glad that you guys had a good experience. But yeah, the game itself was obviously was entertaining. Like I said, when you see Cash Jones in
yeah.
taking handoffs in the second quarter, I turned there was a guy at the alumni tailgate that I was at in Nashville that was kind of making similar like comments that made it sound like he watched, film from an analytic standpoint. And I turned to him and I was like, it's not very often that you see the human victory cigar in the second quarter. And he got a big chuckle out of that.
Oh, dude, 372 yards rushing in this game for Georgia.
Yeah, if you're a Bobo hater, sorry, Craig. You probably were not happy at this game. Although I think that Craig would probably argue that, well, we were playing the backups kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Which to a certain extent, I hear you. So my retort to anybody that says that, or what I feel like your defense as a Georgia fan when you're having these conversations with folks is that, okay, well, that's kind of the score that you would expect to put up. So if you expect to put that up against backups, do you really think that the starters are going to have that much of an impact to where they would have been anywhere closer? Like George Foster has talked a lot about this on Twitter and on the 100 Sanford episode, for their recap, because I listened to it today actually. Um, his point, his whole thing is that, okay, throw the starters in there, we win by 20.
Right, right. Yeah,
And I tend to agree. And the Georgia team that played in the Orange Bowl is not the same Georgia team that played in the SEC championship. And I got into a little bit of an argument with some Michigan folks earlier today about this. But like basically they're saying that Georgia had no business being in the CFP. And I said, well, if Georgia had that same team in the SEC championship, then it would have been it likely would have been a little bit different outcome.
Mhm.
Because we would have had a fully healthy team. So if you give Kirby Smart a month to prepare for anybody and a month to heal
Yeah,
at some key positions, because we weren't even sure that Lad McConkey was going to be physically able to play, right? Like
right.
it wasn't a guarantee that he was going to play at all.
And my gut tells
Um,
me Brock Bowers does play if it's a playoff game. I could be
uh-huh.
wrong. I don't really know. That's not inside sources. That's just me guessing.
Yeah, I would tend to agree there. But yeah, I mean, it just wasn't the same team. It wasn't the same
Mhm.
team. Because we were firing on all cylinders in every facet of the game. Um, I mean, I think that we laughed towards the end of the game when Thorson had to come out. It was like, all right, game's complete. Thorson finally got a punt and no return.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's talk about that. I'm pretty sure I texted you and coach. Did I text you guys before we punted? Or was it after they were because like I was like legit nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, what if they return the punt?
I was not nervous at all, Joe.
Uh, I guess
I don't remember. I think you texted us afterwards
I think it
because
was after. I think I texted that I had been legit nervous that like
yes.
I was like on the edge of my seat. Will we not? So we hit the under on FSU punt returns of 0.5. Um, which I guess that's a good. We can we crown? Is this a good time to crown me as the Coach Chill Bills over unders champion of 2023? I
I don't
did.
know. I don't know what you're talking about.
I did win.
My wide receivers were injured. Sorry.
Final
Doesn't count.
standings. I was 74 and 48, and you were 70 and 52. So not by a lot. You made a good. You made some headway. You kept chopping.
I kept chopping, came up short like an Alabama CFP appearance against
Ooh,
Michigan.
ooh. I guess we can talk about that a little bit.
That's
That
not a
was
segue. That's not a segue yet.
okay. Not yet. Okay,
Not
that's
yet,
fine.
not yet. I think that all right, so let's talk a little bit more about some things that were in the game. I want to talk about something that I didn't actually know about until after the game was over.
Mm.
And I don't know if you knew about it before the game or not, but Kirby's pregame comments. Can we
Oh
talk about
yeah,
that?
yeah. We can talk about that. I thought you were going to say something different. Um,
I mean, we'll get
yeah,
to that. We
no,
can get to what you thought in a second, but
yeah,
yeah, dude, like Kirby was living loose pregame, wasn't he?
yeah. Like, what did he say? He's like, I don't.
He
I mean,
said
like, he
that,
pulled a sorry Carter in the pregame interview,
yeah, he
right?
pulled a sorry Carter with DJ Shockley. Mary
Man,
Beth is not going to be happy about
yeah. Like, I
that.
made it out on the radio airwaves. I saw that from John, right? I think he tweeted it or something.
Yeah, he said something about up in this bitch, like
Yeah,
that they were ready to go.
yeah. Like, holy cow.
Carter just hit me with a sorry Carter.
Uh, yeah, no. So I didn't know. I did not have my I did not have my headphones with me, John. So I was unaware during the game. This
No
had happened.
Walkmans, no
Yeah,
Walkmans made it on the trip.
none of that. Um, but yeah, man, I do think that goes to show just the mentality that we had. I mean, took it seriously. You could see it in Kirby's pregame speech with the team, and you can see with the stuff that's come out through social media. I don't know. I mean, we took it seriously, and even in his post game comments in the post game press conference, where he was like, basically, it was like that wasn't okay. Like college football needs to figure out what they want to do, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like
it feels like he was making a statement for a number of levels. Which,
yeah,
by the way, like Kirby, if we want to make statements, can we make statements like earlier in the season?
Hmm. Yeah,
At some point I feel like that, I don't know. I look at so when I was arguing with the guy from Michigan today, he was talking about Georgia's schedule, how we didn't play anybody, and I pointed out Michigan's schedule, like they didn't play anybody until the ninth game of the season,
yeah,
as well, or the 10th game of the season, I think it was for Michigan. Like they basically beat the piss out of everybody that they played on their week Big Ten schedule, right? And so maybe the takeaway here this season is that Kirby always is learning things, right? Like he's opened up the offense a little bit more. Like, we're not as reliant on just ground and pound kind of thing. So he's evolving as a coach like before our eyes, right? And so I
mhm,
feel like that the next hump that we've got to get over is this like get the game in hand and then shut it down kind of approach. And I just want to see if we have the ability to do so against an inferior opponent, just step on their throats and throw up a big score, because it appears that the committee, and maybe it changes next year with the 12 teams and all that stuff, but like I
yeah.
don't know. It feels like the optics mattered a lot more in this particular season than they have in the past.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Um.
But yeah, I mean, we had there was this is like the quintessential Bobo game, right? Like we had utter balance. We had like right at 300 yards rushing, right at 300 yards passing, which golly, 300 yards rushing. That hasn't happened in a really long time. I
Well,
think
I mean, we had dang near 400 with 372,
yeah, yeah,
388 gross, 372 net. It was beautiful. I loved every second of
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I think that UGA Sports had thrown up there by the numbers stuff, and I feel like that we hadn't had two 100-yard rushers in the same game in quite some time.
Yeah, well, we didn't here, did we? We had Roderick Robinson was the second leading rusher with 70 yards.
Was it?
Kendall
I
had
thought that
104.
I thought that they were talking about the combined rushers.
Mm.
Maybe I'm mixing up the stats.
Yeah, we only had 100-yard rusher in Kendall.
I can't remember what
Roderick
they were
Robinson,
talking
that was the
about
best he's
there.
looked, I'll say too. He looked good, man. He looked
Hmm.
good. Um, I actually, you know, the defense just shut them down so much that we're not even really talking about them a whole lot. So I'll call it a couple of things. One, I like for a second there, I thought Malachi Starks was going to run back that interception for a touchdown, like to end the first half, which would have been glorious. Um, but I mean, I don't know, like they just couldn't. They had the one long pass play in the second quarter, I think. Maybe that was in the yeah, the second quarter. They had that one long pass play, got them down inside the 10, and then we buckled down and held them to a field goal. But that was a
Hmm.
beautiful play, by the way. Kind of had to tip your cap to them. Um, but yeah, man, defense was they did what they do. They were lights out. So I did
Right.
like when in our text thread we were talking about like we really need the defensive line to step up, and then like we had a batted ball and then a sack fumble. Like right
Yeah,
after that
yeah.
was in the text thread, which even that, like Michael Williams gets the sack, recovers his own fumble. That was pretty sweet. I don't know, dude. It was the whole thing was awesome.
Yeah, we had 11 rushers and 11 different players with rushing at least one rushing attempt. And we had 11 different players with at least one reception.
That's crazy. All right,
That is that is crazy.
including, and this is where I thought you were going. I thought you were going to go with who caught a pass in this game.
Luke Bennett.
Luke Bennett.
Yeah, the goats younger brother even caught a pass. Yeah, I mean Jackson Muschamp gets a first down, and we're left his dad with an absolutely amazing gif moment. If you haven't seen it, you definitely need to check it out. I mean Gunnar Stockton looked great. I mentioned the guy at the watch party that I was at. We kind of exchanged some commentary about that. Like, and it sounded like that he had some kind of like connections that I had been hearing, that we've been hearing as well, that some of the staff were kind of torn on, his ability to be an X factor in the
Mm,
running game.
mhm.
And you definitely saw that. You definitely saw that.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It
mean,
gives it gives you a lot of hope for what could potentially be down the road for sure.
right. Right. And I thought the touchdown pass to Anthony Evans that was a nice pass. It was a nice pass. It was a
Hmm.
nice catch. I mean, Evans really like shielded the defender from that. I thought it was a good play. Or
Yeah.
we got to see it was the dude, it was like the perfect bowl game, right? You blew them out. There was like no nervousness whatsoever. It was a party, and we got to see a glimpse into the future, right? With all these young guys
Exactly.
getting into the game. It was perfect. It was
Yeah, that's
exactly how
exactly
you want
what
a
you
bowl game to
want.
go.
My only thing is that I feel like these last couple of games with Anthony Evans coming in, it's one of those situations like, did we wait too long to unveil that kind of thing?
Right.
Could be
Right.
could be something of a regret for the past, but at least now we know he is as advertised, and the hope is that he'll get bigger, he'll get faster, he'll get stronger, um, and get more familiar with the playbook, and hopefully develop. I would assume that what's been holding him back is probably some of that, playbook knowledge, as well as some of the blocking, ability
Right.
that some of our other receivers present. But the kid has very clearly got the talent, and I think that he's going to be one of those players that we have to figure out how to get the ball to, kind of like AD Mitchell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, what other comments do you have on the game? I think that the the other takeaways that I had were, um, yeah, I mean, we had Woodring was a perfect 9 for 9, and I believe that we were perfect in the red zone as well. Like every trip to the red zone was a touchdown, which is something that we struggled with this
Hmm.
season. Again, that whole lesser competition thing, but like, basically we performed exactly how we wanted, how you need to perform against a team that's reeling. And I don't know. Georgia was able to empty its bench, and still was able to perform. So, this isn't exactly like we're playing an FCS team, right? This is still a Division I,
Yeah.
major Power 5 conference champion. that was undefeated, that has the recruiting prowess that it has at its disposal in a big state. And so I don't know that I subscribe to the fact that that they got trounced without their starters.
Look, I mean, they were they were ranked higher than we were by the committee. And if you go by the number of guys that were out, you know, we were missing just as many as they were. If you look at our guys that had gone to the portal, and our guys that were injured. I mean, we didn't have Brock Bowers. Imagine if Brock Bowers was in this game, how bad would it have
Right.
been? So, yeah,
I don't know that it would have been much different, but
yeah.
would have been it just would have been the lion's share of yards would have probably come to him.
Yeah,
But speaking of, let's highlight Dylan Bell, man. Dude, Dylan Bell,
yeah.
holy cow, man, what a performance that he had. I mean, he had a couple of catches that at the end of the towards the end of the game that were just like, what was that?
I,
Where has that been all season?
Well, I felt like his first one down the sideline was like a nice answer to the one I mentioned that they had, right? They had that nice catch down the sideline, and then Dylan Bell was like, I can do that too. It was
Hmm.
yeah, man. He really I don't know, he really grew this season, I feel like. Kind of ever since the Tennessee game, I feel like he's been a consistent performer. So
Yeah, man. I know that he's only a sophomore, and I'm hoping that next year he really kind of takes that Heinz Ward.
mm,
I really hope that he takes that Heinz Ward mantle.
yeah, yeah, for
Because
sure.
it's fun to watch him. Like you talk about these young guys, like our team overall is pretty young, man.
Yeah,
Other than some key spots along the lines and trenches, which is definitely something that we're gonna have to find answers for in the future. John Tweets was very good at reminding us all about what we have coming in and what's still on the roster from a trenches side of things. So we've got some pretty big hog mollies that are still in the fold for those roles. And I think that part of us seeing, some of these guys that number one, we have numbers that we have to get out, right? We
yeah.
have to cut down to 85 scholarships by the spring. Um, it'll be interesting to see how that evolves over the next, 6 months or so. But for now, it seems like we're pretty set and we're pretty comfortable with where we're at along the lines. I mean, you saw today, as of recording time, we have a Michael Jackson the third
Dude,
that is
I'm so
committed to
excited.
Georgia.
I'm so excited about the Michael Jackson jokes that are coming.
Yes,
Get ready.
yes. Oh man.
Uh,
As soon as that came out, I was like, oh man, everybody's firing up the meme machine.
uh,
Yeah.
man, a meme machine in red and black. Sorry.
It's definitely going to be a meme machine.
Yeah, yeah,
And our defenders look good in the secondary. We've had some guys that we had Humphrey, you know, he was out, then he was in. He's like he's playing the hokey poke. He's playing the portal hokey pokey.
yeah, yeah. I don't know what's going on with that. Uh, um, I do want to say, uh, kudos to Kendall Milton. He dealt with a lot in his career, with injuries, and we had talked about like if it's a healthy Kendall Milton, et cetera, et cetera. I'm happy for him that he got to finish out the end of his career healthy like this, and get the be the MVP of the Orange Bowl. That was pretty cool. And Kid has an arm. I'll say Kendall Milton has an arm, and so does Kirby. The being down low and seeing the oranges get launched into the stands, they're getting them into the stands, man. Both of them. So they both got arms, just for what it's worth.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he ends up in the draft situation, but
Yeah.
I definitely wish that we had him for a longer period of time completely healthy.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, man. Maybe we need to make an assessment on how early we're letting these kids come out, but um, yeah, he has not looked the same as years past.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I've got nothing else on the game.
Yeah, man, I got nothing else either. What I will say is a couple of things that did come out. Something to look, something that you maybe are. So we only ran 4 plays this season out of the pistol formation. That was something that Coach Hayes had posted about today. When he put the first, I think it was the very first touchdown by Kendall Milton was out of the pistol formation, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Hmm. Good question. The first one, it actually to me looked a lot like the play. Not to bring up bad things. It looks a lot like the play that we fumbled on in the SEC championship game, but we handed it off to the back and
That's right.
faked the end around.
It must have been the other. It must have been the other touchdown because
Okay.
there was a play where we ran it out of the pistol in the red zone and we scored, and it was only the fourth play of the entire season that we had run out of the pistol formation. And I
Interesting.
rem I remember that that was definitely a formation that Monken used to leverage.
Mhm.
But anyway, something to watch out for in the future. I feel like that there was definitely some tinkering with personnel sets and those kinds of things that we didn't normally do. Like you said, we had we had the fumble play that we actually did something a little different on that ended up being successful. So, from a player standpoint, we got to see all this talent, but also from a coach's standpoint, they get to pull some things out that since it's the last game of the season, pull some things out that we haven't, get some live practice in basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that was definitely something that stuck out to me was the tinkering that was going on with Bobo because he was definitely in his bag. Yeah, he was definitely in his bag for this game.
We got some nice Bobo Todd Hartley high fives on screen this game. I did see that. I haven't rewatched the whole game, but I rewatched the first half the other day. I saw multiple of those. It was nice.
There was definitely a lot of that. I actually thought that it's funny because when we first scored and they first like panned up to the booth, I saw Bobo, but I didn't quite see Hartley. He was not quite as close to Bobo
Hmm.
as he normally is, and so I did have the thought like if Stacy Searles is out, which
Right.
we haven't talked about that either. Like I assume that he's okay. I haven't seen any news updates, but
Yeah.
we were joking on whether or not Hartley was going to be down on the sideline or whatever taking on that role, but he was definitely in the booth.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Let's see. Why don't we do a quick sponsor shout out? Oxia Time, again, thanks for presenting season 4 of My God a Podcast. I will say, just so everyone knows, the Georgia collection is limited time at this point. It's about to go away. So head over to axiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. You can use the code HunkerDown for 10% off your watches. Both the 2021 and 2022 Natty collections. My understanding is they're only available through January 7th. So if you're hearing this, and you've been thinking about getting a watch and haven't made the move yet, head over to axiatime.com to do that. Because we're not going to see them. We'll have to wait for the next time we make it to the CFP again to see another edition come around. So head out and do that. And then as always, head over to workingwebmedia.com/dogs if you need any help with your online presence. You got a small business, need help with your website, go check them out. They helped us redesign mygodapodcast.com in the off season. And then, if you're watching on YouTube, I got on my home field apparel tonight. Head over to homefield.mygodapodcast.com to check out all the vintage logos, designs that Homefield has to offer. And again, you can use the same code Hunker Down at Homefield to get 15% off your first order. All right, JP, who do you got in the Natty? I just skipped the fact that there were 2 playoff games.
I was gonna
Um,
say, whoa, whoa,
it's like
we really skipped ahead there.
it's been funny because so we flew home New Year's Eve, got New Year's Eve, and then New Year's Day. But the games were on so late. Like I had to go back to work on Tuesday. Kim had to go back to work on Tuesday. Like, and it
Yeah,
was really late. I mean, the Sugar Bowl didn't end till like 1 o'clock. So that was kind of
yeah.
annoying. That was kind of
I
annoying.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep during the Sugar Bowl. Didn't get to see the score until until I woke up.
So
Um,
what I'm not afraid to admit is that I was like actively rooting and cheering for Michigan. At one point my sister texted me like when Michigan had scored at one point, and she was like, "I just cheered like Georgia scored against Alabama." I was like, "I know." I was like, I was yelling at the television. I was done with them. I wanted them not to be there, and they're
I
not.
guess I had a balancing effect because I was texting my Michigan buddy that was at the Kentucky game. I think he was at. Yeah, he was at the
Mm,
Kentucky game.
yeah,
Remember him? Yeah.
yeah.
So we were texting each other during the game, and I was like, man, of all the ways to approach this game, spotting Alabama 11 points seems like a bold strategy. How did they beat?
Seriously.
How did they beat Alabama when they basically gave them 11 points? I
I mean,
don't.
they turned the ball over in the first play of the game, and we're lucky that he had that what was
Yeah,
it, Caleb Downs, that he had stepped out before that happens. They muffed two punts. They muffed, mishandled, or bad snap an extra point. So there's a point right there. If you think about it, it shouldn't have gone to overtime. They should have won by one, whatever. If they'd made an extra point, you got
Mhm.
that. I mean, it was crazy. What I want to know is where was that Alabama team in Atlanta? Because that's not how they played in Atlanta.
Yeah, like a Nick Saban coach team with a month to prepare came out and produced that effort. Like I don't, it's kind of like the corollary with the Georgia game, right? Like, do you really think that Michigan is that much better than Georgia because of the way that they played? Because they kicked Alabama's butt in the first half. Like they absolutely like up and down the field beat the tar out of Alabama in the first half.
Yeah, but with like nothing to, but with
And they were
nothing to show
only
for
up
it.
3 points.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
That's what I told my friend. I was like,
Yeah.
listen, I've seen this movie before. You guys
Yeah.
whipped their butt in the first half, but you're only up 3 points. Like
It is
I hate to tell you that. Which
it is shocking that Nick Saban lost a game when that's the case. I am still kind of shocked.
well, like so the third quarter rolls around and that's like when you're like, okay, this is where it happens because they
Hmm.
basically shut Michigan down. But then for the second playoff appearance in a row, they came out and got absolutely whipped in the fourth quarter
Yeah. Yep.
again. That's
Yep.
something that Graham has talked about.
Yeah.
Um, they've been completely like battered in the fourth quarter, which is it's kind of just so it's just such a foreign concept to me to allow for a Nick Saban coach team to allow the game to get away from him like that.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. I saw it all on Twitter. Like, it was, fans, feeling like we could have done better, which I don't disagree with. I'm not saying that we should have been there. Um, but I'll say, man, the way Michigan played, although maybe they wouldn't have done this against Florida State, but like if you put Florida State in there without opt-outs and everything, I mean, I think they could have given them a game. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure I don't think they could give us one, but it's different. And with the way Michigan played, it's possible.
So I think what Michigan did is that I think Lamar, to his credit, on 100 Sanford talked about this, that there's just so much film that Kirby offered up for Michigan to go off of, right?
Right.
So you basically saw an entire game of what it looks like for a really good defense to spy Jalen Milroe. So
Mm.
Michigan basically went the complete opposite direction and just brought the house against him and
Yeah.
had by and large, a better defensive line than Georgia has. But I don't know. I mean, they definitely got to Milroe, but part of it is because Milroe had nowhere to go. Here's one thing that I will say about Michigan that I am not very confident on. Matching them up with Georgia's defensive line.
Mm.
It seems like that Michigan had speed that we just did not have to get to the boundary to run these guys down. Like it
Yeah.
felt like that they were just much faster or as fast as the Alabama players to get to the edge, to track people down, those kinds of things. But that said, I think that Michigan took the approach of just filling the middle so that Jalen Milroe couldn't just take off. And then when he did take off to the edges, they didn't allow him to punish them too much. I mean,
Yeah.
he broke away a few times. There's that one play where he just inexplicably slipped, like
Yeah.
just like turf monster got him on the natural grass field.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, you questioned and we talked about during the season, like with the Big Ten, you know, is everyone was saying that they call the Big Ten defenses were so high, like in the defensive rankings, right? It's like, was it that there's good defense in the Big Ten, or was it that there was bad offense? I will say their defense was better than I gave them credit for. I was impressed by the
Right.
Michigan defense.
So here's the other thing. We talk about the win probability here, right?
Mhm.
And we talk about the fourth quarter performance that Alabama had. So Alabama goes up in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes and 35 seconds to go. They go up 20-13.
Mhm.
That's an 89. They had an 89% win expectancy at that point.
Wow.
Like that's the kind of meltdown that you see there. Um, and then as soon as Michigan, storms down the field to tie it, it's basically a toss up at that point.
Yeah. Okay. So add to the Michigan mistakes. And I know we said the two muff punts, but the one at the end where like they actually stopped Alabama, they're getting the ball back, and then they muff punt again. And like I thought the game was going to end on the safety, or like at that point I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to end on the safety. They're going to lose by two, or they're gonna fumble it, and then they're going to recover it or something.
Yeah, see, like
Um,
that's the thing. Like they won in spite of themselves. Like those
yeah,
kind of like if in the SEC championship we made one mistake, and that's what I kept telling my buddy. I was like, listen,
yeah,
in the SEC championship, we missed the field goal and we fumbled the ball, and that
that
was
was
the
the
difference.
difference.
That
Yeah.
was the difference in the game. Everything else was
Mm,
pretty straight up, right? It just
yeah,
is what it is with that game and with us.
yeah.
With a team like Michigan from the Big Ten and a month to prepare, like you make multiple mistakes against a team like Alabama. Like I said, they had an 89% win expectancy with 4% or 4 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
Um, like those are the kinds of things that cost you the game, and Michigan somehow figured out a way to win. Like, tip your hat to them, credit to them. Seems like they're just having one of those runs. I personally think that they're going to get a rude awakening against Washington, but we'll get to that in a second. Um,
I
but
don't think
yeah,
you're wrong, by the way.
that game was the Michigan should have lost that game by a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
With the mistakes that they made,
yeah,
I'm shocked. I was the same way. At first half, I was like, oh my gosh, how are they only up by three? Like, because it felt like they dominated. And that's like a recipe for disaster against those guys,
hmm
usually. I will say, um, seeing Alabama fans complain about officiating on Twitter was absolutely hilarious. And it's like, oh, we see what it's like when you don't have your SEC refs with you in your bag. Sorry,
yeah,
guys.
I agree. I mean, where was Arnold in this game?
Yeah. Right.
Coach, I mentioned, Coach Hayes over with Dog Dispatch with John Tweets, now he tweeted out today, for instance on how different plays happened with Arnold specifically. And maybe it's a credit to just the game plan that Michigan had on offense to
Mhm.
confuse the defense. I don't know. Probably not doing any credit for the Bobo haters, but um, they had a crossing play. It was the touchdown to Blake Corum where he basically walked into the end zone. On that play, there were three Alabama defenders that made the wrong reads on the play that allowed two guys to basically just effectively walk in by
Oh
themselves.
yeah,
Like
they
you
were
could
yeah, they were both open. He could have thrown it to either guy for a touchdown.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah. I know what
exactly.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like stuff like that like doesn't happen that often against us. And I do think that it's because we have become each other's kind of Super Bowl, for lack of a better description. Like I don't
Yeah.
really know how else to describe it. Like they just that's they give us their best game.
They
And
peaked against Georgia.
mhm.
So yeah. Nah,
Yep, it is what it is.
it is
Next
what it
next
is.
season, nothing. Next season, none of this matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to be giving Kirby a month to prepare for
Well, there
some.
won't be. We're gonna have to dive into. I think we're gonna have to dive into this in the offseason, John. We're gonna have to learn about how it's gonna work because there's not a month off anymore. That's the other thing. Because the
Ah.
playoffs start sooner because there's more rounds. So.
See, I that's something that I've always thought was kind of crazy. Like you play this full season, like
Mhm.
for example, Georgia. We played a full season, limped into into championship weekend. And that's my point to like the Michigan fans that are talking about the schedule. Like they're saying that we didn't play anybody until the ninth game of the season or whatever. First of all, that's BS. Second of all, second of all, what I hear you saying is that before we played a championship game that determined our postseason fate, we had the toughest slate of games
Yeah.
uh,
Right at the end.
right at the end where people started getting hurt. We're having to expend energy. So like, I don't know. I just think that, you know, allowing us to play a championship game that determines where we go against who we played. Like nobody else had to play a team like Alabama. Like Michigan played freaking Iowa, who had like the 150th ranked offense in the country.
Yeah.
Um, and then, the only other team that had to play somebody was Washington, right? Like
Yeah.
Washington they're the only other team that had to play someone of significance. Texas had to play
Yeah.
Oklahoma State. Michigan played Iowa, like I said. Um, who else? Who else played? Florida State played. Who did they play?
Louisville.
Louisville. Yeah.
And that game was gross.
Yeah. I mean, like, what?
Yeah.
This is insane. We had to play Alabama. So
Yeah. Yeah.
these are not the same. These are not the same. And then all of a sudden you get a month off, which, is just kind of that. I've always thought that was crazy. But
Yeah. It is. It is weird. It is weird. Well, yeah. So then in the Sugar Bowl, I thought AD Mitchell was about to have another crazy playoff. I will say his touchdown catch that he did make was ridiculous. It was like AD Mitchell doing AD Mitchell things, made me miss him.
yeah.
um, that was kind of hurtful watching that happen. But man, great play by the Washington DB in the very last play of the game. I'll say that. But like that game was nuts. I know you said you fell asleep. Did you see did you wake up and the game was over, or did you wake up and see the
Oh,
end of the
I
game?
woke up at like 2 in the morning and I was
Okay.
like, what just happened?
Yeah, because the end of that game was nuts. Like it was like Washington had it won, and then all of a sudden they didn't. Like it was crazy. So um
I will say that for Mr. Ewers, for him to be as highly touted a quarterback as he is, I will say that yes, the Washington DB made a great play on AD Mitchell. Had the ball been placed better, I feel like it's a touchdown.
that whole end sequence there, like the fact that Texas was there at all was crazy, but like you can't predict that you're gonna have a running back get injured like Washington did, and then that stopped the clock. Like that was the whole reason they got the ball back with so much time. Um, and you can't predict anything like that. But then, like, they hit that bomb and they get down there, and then it was like, what are you doing? Like they had like an underneath route that they threw, and then like there was another one to 80 that was like way over his head. He had no chance of catching. Those last four plays that Texas ran were suboptimal. I'll say that. It wasn't great.
Kind of like a quarterback draw to end the game.
Yes. Yes, kind of like that.
You get paid millions of dollars to run a quarterback draw with the game on the line.
Yeah. So that was wild. I will say though, like Penix was very impressive. I thought like the way he was dropping passes like right into the guy's numbers. Some of those like it looked too easy at times. It was crazy. I mean, he was throwing it like right over the DB's head, like perfect pass. It was
Yeah.
impressive.
I was reading some back and forth with Josh Hanchard, Dog Stats. I can't remember who he was talking to, but he made a comment that I was like, oh yeah, you're right. That he said that Washington reminds him of Ohio State when we played them in the Peach Bowl,
Totally agree with that.
with all of their receivers and arm talent and stuff. And so
Yeah.
like yeah, like that I agree with that assessment. And that's why I think that they're gonna give Michigan problems.
I think so too. And like, so Michigan's favored by 4.5. Um, and I think I think it was an exchange between Josh and Parker, Stats Award.
Yeah, I think it was.
And Parker said something around like something about like that Washington's going to need to like outperform themselves for the fourth game in a row or something. I'm like, at some point, like they're hot and it's just kind of how they're playing right now. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure what to make of it. I guess I'm like rooting. I don't really have a rooting interest. I feel like either way, I'm good. If Washington wins, my father-in-law gets a national championship, even though I don't know if he'll know about it. And if
Huh.
Michigan, if Michigan wins, then it's going to get vacated eventually. Um, and then we go for the asterisk three-peat next year. So
Yeah.
that's my official prediction. I'm sticking with that. I've been going with that for a few weeks. My official prediction is Michigan wins, and then it gets vacated, and then we get a three-peat next year.
So you do think that Michigan's gonna win? Is that your pick?
That is my pick. I actually like with what I saw this past weekend, I actually would lean Washington, honestly. But I'm sticking with my I'm doing this for narrative, John. I like my narrative of Michigan wins and then it gets vacated. I'm going with that.
Right. So I guess I look at this, I look at who they've played. Like basically all the people that they've played that have been ranked haven't really scored more than 30 something points.
Who, Michigan or
Yeah,
Washington? Michigan.
Michigan. And I think that that's where I'm kind of at with this is that I feel like that Washington is going to be able to put up points um through through the air. Um I'd have to like I'd have to really look at their performance.
I do feel
Um
like I don't think Washington has the best defense. I'll say
they
that.
don't, yeah.
So, but I think their offense is really good. What I would love it if this was actually like a
So
good game, like a back and forth good championship
I
game. That would be cool. That'd be
I think
fun.
that it has the potential for it. So I'll give you the corollary here. They played Oregon twice, right?
Yeah.
And Oregon has the number two, I think they have the number two defense in the country or something like that, right? Like they have one of the top 10 defenses in the country. I know that Michigan's probably a little bit better, but I think that Oregon is right up there with their overall defense. They're also up there on their offense too, I believe, as well. But in both of those games against Oregon, they were able to it was a blow for blow, but they were able to put up 30 something points.
Yeah.
I don't know that Michigan is built to put up that kind of points. Against a team that can also put up those kind of points is kind of what I'm saying. So you look at like their performance against Ohio State, for example.
Mhm.
Ohio State by and large was not good, not good this year, and they still that game was still pretty close. It was like 30-24 or something like that.
Here's my analogy for you that I'll give. The 2017 Rose Bowl between Georgia and Oklahoma. Like the Georgia offense was like, I don't know what we want. I mean, obviously we had like a amazing rushing attack, but I would say that was like a good offense. Great, we had a really good defense that season.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Oklahoma was like all offense, no defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that ended up being a super high scoring game because Georgia's offense, once it woke up and figured things out, was able to put up points against that Oklahoma defense. And that Oklahoma defense or offense was able to put up points, especially early against what was still a really good Georgia defense. Like I could see this being kind of like that in that way, just of Washington, awesome offense might actually be able to put up some points against this Michigan defense. And then the Michigan offense, while not as explosive, is playing against a not great Washington defense. So I don't know. I could see it kind of balancing out that way.
Right. Yeah.
I will say I don't expect Michigan. I feel like there's no way they make that many mistakes again. Maybe, I mean, who knows? I don't know. I would think, but we'll see. I think it should be a fun game.
I don't think that Michigan's going to have an answer for Odunze.
Okay. Yeah, could be. All right, I'm gonna go Michigan. So you going Washington?
I'm going Washington because F the Big Ten and F Jim Harbaugh. He has a very punchable face.
At this point, John, is when I would like to remind you that in our season preview, I picked Washington as a playoff team, and you said, "What?"
And here we are. And here we are.
Too funny. All right, man.
I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared for it.
That's okay. That's okay. It's too bad we don't have dogs versus dogs in the championship game. Oh well.
That would have been pretty awesome. The battle for the hashtag.
Yes, exactly. Which I think like they went with Purple Rain. I assume they would keep that should they win. I don't know. But the only way to be 100% certain that we keep, or not that we keep Go Dogs, because it is gone. The Power G is gone on the hashtag. But the only way to make
So did we ever confirm, like, did they just give it to us because we won the national championship, or because I feel like you can pay for these things, right? Like, does someone just need to pay the light bill kind of thing?
I mean, maybe, but they do that. If when you win the Natty, you get it for a year. So,
Nice.
although it hasn't been a year, why don't we still have it? We should still
Yeah,
have it.
seriously. Like,
Yeah,
we're
come on.
still national champions as we're still back to back defending national champions, as Lamar said.
We most certainly are. We most certainly are. My T-shirt says as much. I've got the T-shirt I have on under my hoodie as my back-to-back T-shirt.
Right,
So
right. My watch still says we're national champions.
that's right. We are until we aren't, and we still are. So
All right.
all
Well,
right,
the bowl game was fun. I'm glad that you and Lily had a good trip. I know
man.
that I actually watched the game with Carter, so I was also with one of my kids as well. Um, Carter was kind of being an absolute savage during that game too, as he usually is.
Uh, it was fun times.
But
It was
awesome,
it
man.
was a
So
good way to
so
it was a good way to send off the seniors. 50
agreed.
wins. 50 wins.
Agreed. The winningest senior class in UGA history.
Yep.
And I believe that we put another 13 win game on the books as well, which has only happened a few times before.
Yeah. Two losses in 3 years. Pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
But as someone, I think Ratty pointed out, that 50 wins record may not last for very long
I like it.
because
like
we
it.
have, I think the next class has 42 wins.
Mm.
So
Nice.
they
Nice.
could definitely take it over with another nice run.
Nice.
And
Well,
with that, we will head to championship week, and what are we going to do? We're going to do a season recap, kind of season wrap
yeah,
up.
we'll do like a season review, and I guess we could talk a little bit about the national championship game, but yeah, we can kind of take a look back at the season as a whole. We'll do that. We'll do that. That'll be the next one.
Excellent. Well, it's good to catch up, Jim. I feel it's like I was like, what do I do? What do I do with my hands? Like I forgot all my passwords at work. Like I've been a hot mess this week. So anyway, this was fun to get back in the podcast swing of things. So anyway, cheers, go dogs.
Go dogs.